newly discovered methods for massive FPS gains, giant Mythic Plus buffs, and more. I want to actually comment on that. I don't know what's going on in the game right now, but a lot of times when we're raiding, I have been having crazy FPS drops. And my PC is not that old. Like, I built it, what is it, like okay, maybe it is a little bit old, it's 3 years. But I got a 3080 in here. I'm running a high-end CPU, too, from Ryzen. I pump out some good shit. I got a lot of RAM and everything. It's good. But when we're raiding sometimes, man, some of these mechanics and shit, I think it's the amount of slime going out and all kinds of like splash effects and things on the screen at the same time. My FPS been going all over the place when we're doing this stuff. So it's been pretty interesting to see what's been going on. I haven't typically had these issues, but they have been an issue lately. Let's see if we can fix this through whatever methods Bailey Lars come up with here.
Welcome back to the news. I've got a patch date, major frame rate improvements, game releases from Dreamhaven, and changes within the game that very much hit Mythic Plus, which has been in a controversial spot lately, so let's get into things. The big news is patch 11.05 releases October 22nd, and it shows something good, that Blizzard's commitment to their patch cycle still holds. The 8-week rule that they kicked off in Dragonflight has actually held true, which is pretty damn impressive, but compared to 10.05, 11.05 is actually vastly larger. These minor patches tend to have small story things, small quests, maybe transmog, world content changes, but this time it's much larger. I'll have a full guide very, very soon, but here's a short version of what you can expect.
I do want to quickly say, I feel like 8 weeks is like almost perfect. Every single time I feel like we're finally getting to a point where like, WoW's getting a little bit like, meh. Then all of a sudden another patch hits. Literally, it's like 8 weeks is like the perfect timing. New content's been hitting every single time. I feel like the cadence of the patches just feels good. I feel like there's always something to do in the game, and as soon as I finish doing the thing that they just released, the next thing's coming. It feels really good, and also they've been communicating a ton. So like not only are we getting something every 8 weeks, but like every 4 weeks-ish, it feels like they're dropping a huge post about what's coming, which has been really good.
So, Blizzard are adding a full 8-boss mid-season raid.
Yeah, I guess
it's a remake of Blackrock Depths. There are 8 bosses plus a couple of mini-bosses, and what's quite amazing is that it's not throwaway. You see, the past anniversary raid events were LFR only. They were often a little bit of a shit show. If you were back in Molten Core 10 years ago, yeah, I was too. It was rough. This time, though, it's a full raid with a weekly lockout on LFR normal and heroic difficulty. It's got its own full loot table, and the item levels do match up to Nerub-ar. So, as an example, right as my guild will get ahead of the curve, unless something weird happens, there'll just be another raid for us to go and enjoy. Now, I do expect this to lean a little bit in the easier side, but Blizzard have said heroic, so I'm going to take that as meaning heroic. A lot of other things are happening too, like classic. I mean,
it should still mean heroic because the item level that's dropping is heroic, the same as like Queen Anserek and everything else. Like we're gonna be getting high ass item levels from this stuff. So I'm excited to do it.
Time Walking finally like making an appearance, restoring the original versions of Deadmine, Zul'Farrak, Dire Maul, and Stratholme to the game, which is awesome. Those have not been seen by loads of players for a long, long time. That, of course, includes the usual list of Time Walking rewards. There's transmogs, mounts, items, toys, all of that stuff. So definitely be sure to farm your Time Walking badges. Then there's the anniversary and its new event grounds. Basically, there's just a gigantic amount of stuff to do there. There are world bosses nearby. There's actually a secret hunting quest line, which is a little bit like the Secrets of Azeroth, but done again. There are plenty of quests, a bunch of mini activities, and a whole group scenario helping Chromie basically at the Battle of Vat and Courage, the whole opening the gates thing. So that's really neat. Now, Blizzard have also just revealed how the Tier 2 remakes and the event currency will work. A lot of players were worried that they wouldn't be able to get everything. The good news is you can. So here's how it actually works. Your first Tier 2 ensemble costs 60 event currency. The second costs 40. And
these are all discounts across the board. This is, I'll let him keep talking, but this definitely made it something you can equip from every single character. You can get all your tier sets, and obviously they're warband bound from transmog, so you'll be able to use it.
Rest of them will just cost 20. Yeah, it will be a bit of a grind. You'll be doing a lot of gameplay content to get all of that, but this event does seem to run from patch through to perhaps July 7th. It seems to be quite long, so there'll be plenty of time and you will be able to get everything that you want. There's also a huge wave of class changes. You can learn about them in this video. Next, though, let's tackle a bit of a fun controversy. And if you'd actually like to understand where Blizzard are going next in the war within, there's some new lore in PTR. We did a deep dive that we posted over on bellular.games. And over there, we post so many things like the Lore Walking podcast, all of our articles. But in this case, I just want to highlight, it's a really damn good article. It brings together all of the lore hints that are pointing towards Undermine and an island off the coast of Khazalgar that may be the tip of Belladar, like the other bit, the top of it. It's a really good read. Check it out, and of course you can do so with a free trial below. Mythic Plus then, you may have noticed there's a lot of controversy swirling around it. Like seriously, if you go to the forums, which you can do, I don't recommend it though, right there, Reddit,
I will say, like, the final season of Dragonflight, like, say what you want about Dragonflight, was actually one of my favorite seasons of Mythic Plus ever, because I actually felt like it was very easy. All of the keys, like, I was pushing very hard on all of them. All the routes were pretty easy as a tank. And overall, it was just a really good time. There was nothing really too difficult about Mythic Plus. Yes, it was scaling, so it got more difficult as you put, but like there was nothing, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't like cumbersome or felt like there was just a ton of shit in your way trying to get things done. It was just very well done. And then this season, I would say, is actually, it's very difficult. There's just a lot of shit going on. I don't know, and they've been trying to like nerf a ton of bosses and things like that, pushing hard. Yeah, it just feels like it's I don't know. It's less fun. It's more difficult. It's harder to push your keys higher. A lot of the routes are pretty damn complicated. A lot of the boss fights, they're either hitting too hard. The Xal'atath mechanics seem to be overlapping at the wrong time with things, which is causing a lot of issues. They're putting in a lot of hotfixes every week, but so far, yeah, it has been a difficult season of Mythic Plus. Yeah, I'm barely timing a 6. No, at the end we were doing 20s in the last season of Dragonflight. What are you talking about?
Anywhere else, you'll just see a lot of rage. A lot of people with depleted keys,
sounds like a skill issue,
not being able to handle the overwhelming increase in difficulty because of a whole bunch of different systems, and it's just been a rough time. Blizzard haven't really fixed that stuff, but they are at least trying. They've made Mythic Plus just a bit easier. Now, to get Gilded Crests, you need to do a +8 instead of a +9, so that will be quite good for people who are chasing those gear upgrades. Also, the Xal'atath's bargain affixes have been seriously buffed. Seriously. The duration is up from 30 seconds to 20, and that may not seem big, but well, as an example, that's pretty much your whole party having heroism for another 10 seconds, and getting that, like, what, every 2 minutes, every 90 seconds, because it's a pretty regular thing, that is good. Other things have changed, though. The Xal'atath's Guile affix has been nerfed. It now only adds 10% to health and damage when it kicks in at keys that are 12 and above, because turns out the 20% health and damage on top of all of the other scaling was a total stomping of the balls. Which only some people are into. There are actual dungeon nerfs then, so there's some for the Necrotic Wake and Stone Vault that are coming with maintenance next week. People will be particularly happy about the Stitch Flash boss. It's got 20% less HP, and the group-wide rot damage is down 30%. But there is a bit of an offset there, because javelins, right? So the javelins that everybody held for that boss no longer stack. And what this basically will be is a huge nerf to the fight for uncoordinated groups. Because basically, if you knew how to do all the javelin stuff right, yeah, cool, easy kill. But not everybody knew that, and it wasn't exactly intuitive. And still in that dungeon, the Gatekeepers had another damage nerf, and forces from the Skeleton have been increased a little bit, so you should have a few more pathing opportunities. And over in Stone Vault, Skarmarok has got less HP, does less damage, and is stunned for longer, and Eirik has had his health hit as well. Both of those fights are just long as hell, especially if Tyrannical's up. It can be, a little bit clenchy, so people will probably like that. Overall, I'd say it's pretty awesome that Blizzard are willing to make changes to the progression here mid-season. Asking for 9...
by the way, I will say the Dawnbreaker fight, too, I think they fixed it where, how you would fight. I remember how I did the whole thing about if you drop the bomb at a certain point, if you're below 7% or below 8%, he gets to a certain percentage at the end. They basically, I think, hard capped it at like 60%. The boss will no longer continue to hit the group and the fight should end. So that's another nice little fix there. No, I do mean 20s, but I can't even go back and see. I was trying to see my reputation, my things here, but I can't go back further than the current season. I don't know why. Someone has to freaking explain this shit to me.
progress gear was just causing serious community issues. Again, keeping in mind the whole rescaling and redesign of the Mythic Plus system. There are always going to be teething problems. I hope that these at least get some of them there, but big picture, it's Mythic Plus, there's gear, people are going to want to get the gilded things, and that means a lot of people who will be full of hero gear from their delves, the game will say, hey, go get some gilded crests. Yeah, and then they'll find out they can only do that by hopping into M+, and they will not be ready. Tell you what's often not ready, though. My computer and its FPS for raids. There may be some hope here. So if you find that your game slows to a crawl in raid, it may be fixable. I don't know about you, but anytime I go through the web intermission in Silken Court, basically just computer dead. It's very bizarre. Anyway, some of our add-ons, due to a bug that's reportedly in Blizzard's end, may be the root cause here. Now, the good news is the ElvUI developer Lucky One and DBS...
Fixable. Don't be poor. Don't be a fucking peasant. Get yourself a 4090 Ti. You little bitches. No, really, I've never had issues with raid before like this, but yeah, even it's not just Silken Court. Some of just the fights. We were just doing Brood Twister. And the points where he's popping the poison everywhere, I don't know what it is. It's just going off. Maybe everyone's popping at the same time that the poisons are flying everywhere. It just causes an FPS drop, but it's been causing some crazy, fluctuations.
Game developer Mystical OS have been doing lots of digging here, and they've discovered some major issues. The major offender is anything rendering a model on your screen. That can potentially take 10 FPS off, even for one of them, which is mad. So the trick of solving this, unfortunately, is to check if your WeakAuras have got any models and just deleting those things. The same actually goes for those 3D rendered portraits on your unit frames and nameplates, which a lot of people have got, so that's pretty rough. Now the second issue...
I actually got rid of those when they switched to the new UI, because I think the new flatter pictures, they're kind of nice. I did have the 3D ones from X Pearl or Z Pearl, whatever the hell it was called, for a while. ElvUI does 3D frames too, I believe.
Being bugged. Essentially, the game is constantly firing off one event way more than it should. I mean, if you're in computer science, you'll kind of know what's happening there if just an event is firing off like mad. And because of that, it's causing add-ons that check your group details just to work far harder for no reason, because they're getting pinged way more than they're supposed to. But that's not all the problems. While he was at it, Lucky One had one more bit of general advice, that filtering auras is massively CPU intensive, and the only workaround is to turn off aura tracking and set buffs and debuffs up manually, which...
So this is all an add-on thing. So the main issue is add-ons? That's what's causing all these problems? /details, detail a display, update interval. Okay, yeah. So they're talking about just a bunch of add-ons causing these problems?
CPU intensive, and the only workaround is to turn off aura tracking and set buffs and debuffs up manually, which for some people's custom setups will be a right pain in the ass. Some good news here is that Plater apparently avoids this stuff with its default settings for the most part, so if you're using those, you should be okay.
That's what I'm doing.
He also found that certain fonts, especially really large fonts that support multiple languages, that those can also cause performance issues. And on top of all that, he highlighted a few issues that ElvUI can cause with some specific configurations, and mentioned the Cell, a popular raid frame add-on that also may be causing issues as well. Isn't that all fun? The TLDR is, if you are having unexplained frame rate drops in raid and it's just driving you mad, what you can try doing is turning off debuffs on your raid groups, turning off any 3D portraits, and deleting WeakAuras that put models on your screen. And if you're really struggling, it's gonna suck, but just removing as many add-ons as you can, maybe turning down your graphics settings, that can kind of help. And on top of that,
honestly, since Blizzard reworked the entirety of the UI and everything else, and a bunch of other things, I've made it my mission to delete as many add-ons as possible and play the game with as few add-ons as possible. I don't have that many right now. I think I've got some WeakAuras, obviously, for some fights that people send me, but otherwise I don't really use it that much. And then the other thing, all the unit frame stuff and everything, it's all gone. I just use what's in the game now. Bag on, all that shit. It's just all standard. I just keep it all. I'm trying to play the game as much. And the truth is, the game should be that way. You should not need add-ons for things. The main thing, if they added a DPS meter in the game one day, that'd be great, because that's the other one that I always have, is a DPS/healing meter. Got to have that for raid especially. But other than that, I'm just rocking whatever's, the standard shit.
There's a really cool add-on that lets you profile the CPU hit and the resource hits of your various different add-ons.
DBM's another one that I have.
It's really fun, and we actually did a whole video on it a few months ago, so I'd recommend checking that out as well. Got a simple question. Did you forget about the damage buff in Nerub-ar? Because I certainly did. And last week, people in my guild were wondering if Blizzard had forgotten about it as well, because it just hadn't showed up. Until it did this week. The way this works is once a week, killing each boss.
Next week, we're going to be able to get this. This is really cool. So this is basically a nerf. It's honestly, it's a buff to the players, but it's a nerf to the raid. That's the truth. And I talked about this before. Ian actually talked about how they don't want to nerf raids anymore because that feels shitty when you're progressing on a boss fight and then Blizzard drops a nerf and then the guild gets the kill. It doesn't feel as good as if they just buff the players. So that's what they're doing here. 6% buff once you complete this. Now it's capped at 8 of these Nerub-ar fineries per week. So you can only do this after the second week, which is next week. After this reset, actually, today, we'll be able to get this. So that's pretty good, and it'll be a nice buff for everybody. 6% across the board for healing and DPS.
Any difficulty will give you 1 Nerub-ar finery, and you'll be able to get, as an example, a maximum of 8 this week. Every boss will only give you 1, so that does mean that you can hop into LFR to, say, get Ansorek if you've not been able to kill her in your regular raid team. And if you turn in 16 of these to the NPC just inside the raid entrance, you'll get a permanent buff to your account with a bonus 3% damage and healing in Nerub.
Oh, I said 3. I said 6. My bad. It's 3.
So you'll be able to get 1 stack of that every fortnight, and it will stack a total of 8 times for a final value of an 18% health and damage buff, which is going to make you way, way stronger. That'll be 16 weeks, and that does mean that we've got a rough Season 2 start.
What? It's going to keep stacking? I didn't know this. So it's going to continually nerf the raid, basically?
And it will stack a total of 8 damage and healing in Nerub-ar. So you'll be able to get 1 stack of that every fortnight, and it will stack a total of 8 times for a final value of an 18% health and damage buff.
Oh, damn. So you can this is a daily. I mean, this is like a bi-weekly, essentially. Every 2 weeks, you pick up this quest, and then you do it again, and then you get the buff again. It's stacks of determination, yeah, for regular raiders. Wow. That's crazy. Man, we're going to become gods at the end of this raiding season.
Make you way, way stronger. That'll be 16 weeks, and that
this buff
does
is
mean
forever.
that we've got a rough Season 2 start date of February, which is pretty much a surprise to nobody.
Yeah, this is not like a click and add it or an enchant or something. This is like once you get it, you are buffed forever. Every time you go in the raid, you are buffed up to the point that you've unlocked. So yeah, this thing just keeps going.
Make sure to just kill every boss every week, right? It's pretty damn simple. And I know for a lot of people this could feel a little like moving the goalposts. From Blizzard's perspective, it's a little bit different. You see, there are times in the past where they've just had to nerf and nerf and nerf and nerf their raid bosses. Yeah. And there's always going to be times where something is just unintentionally a bit harder, or is maybe harder at a particular group size. That happened with Broodkeeper as an example. True. In this case, though, it's basically people earning their progress, right? Like earning the buff by doing the raid, which I think...
The best thing I heard from chat is it's legitimately a stack of determination. That's basically what it is. I mean, you can't just get better by wiping, because that's what determination does. You have to actually kill bosses to get better. But you essentially just eventually get to a point, even if you're just killing the first couple bosses every week, that you're just getting buffed out the ass, and you're going to be able to kill everything at some points. So I think this is a good way to do it. I think it is better than nerfing the raid. And I can't remember what interview Ian said this in, but he specifically said this is what they want to do. They would rather buff players than nerf the raid, and I guess this is what they came up with.
To most feels better than just slamming on a bunch of nerfs. Remember Dreamhaven? It's been a while, but finally we've got something from Mike Morhaime's developer and publisher. Basically what happened here is Mike Morhaime eventually decided, I do not want to be the president of Blizzard anymore. From Jason Schreier's book, we very much learned that's because he was just
done. I forgot he made the Dreamhaven studio. I wonder if they're going to come out with anything soon. Like, it's been a long time, I feel like, a couple years now. I know it takes a while to make a game, but we haven't even heard of an announcement of a game, have we?
With Bobby.
Oh, Sunderfolk. Sunderfolk is a couch co-op, turn-based strategy, tactical RPG inspired by tabletop gaming. Okay. I thought he was going to come out with some kind of MMO or something.
He was done with Bobby, done with a big corporate machine, so he ended up leaving. Dreamhaven was announced, I've got to imagine, as soon as his non-compete expired. And yeah, it's a publisher, it's got some in-house studios as well, and now 2 games have been announced. The first one is a game they're publishing very soon. It's called Linked Banner of the Spark, and it's an early access co-op hack-and-slash game by a new developer called FuzzyBot. Basically, you go on a mission alone or an online co-op, you build a town with resources that you find, and you get a stack of robots to help out. The second game, then, is from one of their own studios. It's called Secret Door, and the game is Sunderfolk. To be honest, it's really cool. So when I describe it normally, your eyes may roll, but the twist, I think, is what makes it matter. So it's a co-op tactical turn-based RPG that you can even control with your phone. But don't worry, it's not a mobile game, it's just a game that's on every major platform. The phone thing is an accessibility thing so that you can get everybody together to actually play the game and to have their own controller and their own reference sheet, because this is their attempt at making a streamlined tabletop gaming experience that everybody can play, that is basically carried by loads of what I just called Blizzard polish and love. I think it's gorgeous. And in a post-Baldur's Gate 3 world where a lot of people are getting into D&D or
actually looks pretty cool.
Sorts of games.
I'm not into this style of game, but that whole thing with the phone is actually pretty cool, using it as a controller. And if you're into turn-based top-down games, yeah, this looks really cool. Tabletop games.
Younger. With that growing, I think this is a pretty cool idea. It may not be for everyone, but it does look pretty damn good. And I think their tagline says it all. The tagline is Rediscover Game Night. Which, you know what? That's damn appealing. And that's also it for the news, but it's not it for content. Check out this video that we published just yesterday. It's about the Harroneer. It will explain loads of things that I think most people miss. Stuff from side quests that, yeah, I know, you didn't read the text. That's fine. That's fine. People don't. But we've even went deep. We found the bits where Blizzard went deep into the game's history, and it's just awesome. So check it out. It could even set up what patch 11.2 will be.
Good luck and right. Thanks, Nazar. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, good video. Yeah, so basically what's causing FPS issues, the main thing he said is it's add-ons. So if you got a shit ton of add-ons going right now, especially a bunch of weak auras, it sounds like ElvUI is a big one. You got to disable them or get rid of some of the 3D portraits or something. A nice video.